Coming up today, Korea's Saenuri Party suffers a shock loss in the general election. The Liberal parties outstrip their own expectations and combined will yield a majority in the new-look National Assembly. With the results, the economic policies pushed by the government and the Saenuri Party are likely to lose steam, but the biggest Liberal Party's plans are likely to get a huge boost. Plus, South Korea's defense ministry warns North Korea could be readying to launch a ballistic missile at any time. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Thursday, the 14th of April. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this afternoon, Korea woke up to a vastly different political landscape today after the Saenuri Party suffered a crushing defeat in Wednesday's general election. It was deprived of the parliamentary majority it had hoped for amid a public backlash against the factional infighting that characterized its candidate nomination process. Park Jung-hong has the details.
The Saenuri Party's defeat marks the first failure by the ruling camp to secure a majority in 16 years. The National Election Commission says out of the total 253 electoral districts, the main opposition Minju Party of Korea won 110, followed by the Saenuri Party with 105 and the splinter opposition People's Party with 25. But including the seats allotted based on the proportional representation system, the final figures come to 123 for the Minju Party, 122 for Saenuri, and 38 for the People's Party. The Minor Justice Party claimed 6 seats and independents 11 out of the total 300-seat National Assembly. What's most notable is the landslide victory by the main opposition in the Seoul metropolitan area, where it seized more than 80 out of 122 seats up for grabs. Even though the ruling camp downgraded its forecast right ahead of the vote, it fell far short of its target and has become a minority, having to face the opposition, which combined will control a majority. The People's Party is seen to be the real winner, with results that exceeded almost everyone's expectations. The election outcome is crucial as it will shape the legislative landscape for the next 4 years and possibly even the presidential race in late 2017. Park Jung-hong, Arirang News.
So, as that last report alluded to, the general election results have not only shaped the National Assembly, they also offer a sneak peek at the political landscape in the run-up to next year's presidential election. Lee Ji-won has more.
This year's general election was something of a litmus test for next year's presidential election, and a number of contests were seen as crucial for predicting which candidates could throw their hats into the ring next year. One of them is Jongno District in central Seoul, which is home to 3 former lawmakers who were later elected president, heightening the anticipation for this year's race between 2 political heavyweights. In the end, the victor was the incumbent, the main opposition Minju Party of Korea's Chung Se-gyun, who was up against former Seoul Mayor Oh Se-un of the ruling Saenuri Party. The win gives Chung his 6th term in parliament and positions him as a possible presidential candidate. Another notable result came out of Daegu's Susong 8 district. Despite the area being the Conservative Party's stronghold, main opposition Minju Party candidate Kim Bo-kyum defeated ruling Saenuri Party candidate Kim Mun-soo, who is now on his way to a 4th term in parliament. But the most closely watched races were among 3 men seen as the most likely presidential candidates. One of them, People's Party co-leader An Chol-soo, defeated Saenuri Party newcomer Lee Jun-seok and cemented his position in the presidential field. Saenuri Party chairman Kim Mo-sung has frequently been mentioned as a possibly presidential aspirant, but the disappointing result for his party in Wednesday's election clouds his chances. Although he held on to his seat in the Jeonggu and Yeongdo-gu district, the defeat prompted him to resign as party chair as he had promised before the election. Kim isn't the only party leader to put his potential candidacy on the line based on the election outcome. Moon Jae-in, the former Minju Party leader, also said before the election he would not run if the party didn't secure a victory in the party's stronghold of Jeollado province. The party won 3 of the region's 28 seats, raising questions about his next move. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News.
So in this year's general election, we saw political barriers between the regions break down, leading to some unexpected results in the traditional strongholds for some candidates. We're going to delve more into them now. The Saenuri Party's Lee Jung-hyun was re-elected in the Suncheon district of Jeollanam-do province, a traditional liberal stronghold, and Saenuri's Jong-eun-chun also won a seat in Jeonju in Jeollabuk-do province. On the other hand, 2 candidates from the Minju Party of Korea won seats in Daegu, a city known as the home turf of the Saenuri Party. Now, pundits say this may mean Korea's long tradition of regionalism toward particular parties could be breaking down as the voter demographic gradually changes. The 3 main political parties have issued their responses to the election results as well. Our political correspondent Park Ji-won has this report.
The election results were particularly painful for the former ruling Saenuri Party, which failed to achieve its minimum goal of securing a majority in parliament. Taking responsibility for his party's disappointing performance, party leader Kim Moo-sung, who had previously said he would resign after the election regardless of the result, stepped down from his post this Thursday morning.
The public judged us with fierce whips, and we suffered a crushing defeat. This all happened because we forgot that politics is all about respecting and fearing the public. The Saenuri Party is responsible for all the results, and we accept it as a strict command from the public, never to fail them again.
The main opposition Minju Party of Korea, which fared very well considering the liberal vote was split with the new minor opposition People's Party in the picture, thanked the public for its support. Interim leader Kim Jong-un said Thursday morning, the election results represent the public's judgment on the incumbent government, particularly its economic policies.
The Park Geun-hye administration and the Saenuri Party had to realize at this point that it was all about the economy. It is just natural that a government that failed to address the livelihoods of the people will be judged by the election. That's the power of the ballot, which is stronger than bullets.
The minor opposition People's Party also thanked the public for their votes. The party has emerged as a real winner here, as it will now play a crucial role when a majority is necessary at the National Assembly. The party's co-leader An Chol-soo said this election demonstrates the country's desire for change.
This election was not a victory for politicians, but for the people. It was a command to practice politics not for the sake of politicians, but for the people. We will be more humble and we will listen to the voices of the people.
The Minor Justice Party, which garnered 6 seats, also said the election showed the public's desire for change and decried the worn-out two-party system. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
The presidential office of Cheongwon-dae has issued a brief statement regarding the election results, saying the new-look National Assembly should strive to improve the livelihoods of the people. In a press briefing on Thursday, President Park Geun-hye's spokesperson expressed hope the new lawmakers would truly work for the public, adding that the result seems to reflect the people's call for that demand. President Park will likely continue to call for the National Assembly's cooperation in passing her economic reform bills, but with the Saenuri Party's crushing defeat, her initiatives will almost certainly face stronger opposition from the Liberal parties. And with the Saenuri Party's loss in the election, its economic revitalization plans and those of the Park Geun-hye administration are likely to fall by the wayside. Pledges made by the Minju Party, which now has more National Assembly seats than the Saenuri Party, are expected to gain momentum. Hwang Ji-hye has more.
Since the general election was dominated by concerns over the economy, eyes are focused on how the results will affect President Park's handling of the economy and the economic campaign pledges laid out by the different political parties. Pundits say the Saenuri Party's defeat means it's going to be a bumpy road ahead for the government and the party. Plans to start quantitative easing introduced by the former ruling party as a campaign pledge is likely to lose steam, especially as economists have been expressing concern about the side effects such measures would have.
Although the effects of QE could be slightly different from changing the key rate, discussions should only start after using all traditional monetary policy measures have been exhausted.
The economic democratization pledges made by the Minju Party of Korea, on the other hand, are likely to be under spotlight. The Liberal Party has vowed to inject roughly $130 billion into welfare projects by raising corporate taxes. Regardless of the campaign pledges, the government will focus on pushing through its economic policies that have been virtually dormant for a while due to the election. It will lay out fresh measures to create new jobs for the younger generation and female workers later this month. Still, the passage of key economic bills is widely forecast to be hampered after the Saenuri Party let its parliamentary majority slip through its fingers. Hwang Jie, Arirang News.
Now, in other news, South Korea's military says it's keeping a close eye on the possibility of North Korea conducting a ballistic missile launch or even a nuclear bomb test in the coming days. For more details, we connect to our Defense Ministry correspondent Kim Hyun-bin. Hyun-bin.
Good afternoon, Mark. Seoul's Defense Ministry spokesman Moon Sang-yoon said just a little over an hour ago that after Kim Jong-un's order last month to conduct a nuclear-tipped ballistic missile test, the South Korean military is preparing for an ICBM launch or a possible fifth nuclear test. Now, Moon says that North Korea is capable of either at any given time. The statement comes after U.S. media reported this week that an American intelligence satellite had detected signs of ballistic missile movements in North Korea. Now, the images indicate Pyongyang could fire its mid-range Musudan missile or its KN-08 or KN-14 ICBM.
And Hyun-bin, we also hear that Kim Jong-un has been selected to head North Korea's 7th Workers' Party Congress in May. Tell us more about that.
That's right, Mark. Well, it's not sound surprising, but the move indicates that North Korea is stepping up efforts to further solidify Kim's power as the one and only supreme leader amid rising speculations of political instability in Pyongyang. Now, it also follows the footsteps of North Korea's state founder, Kim Il-sung, who led the Congress in the past. Now, according to Pyongyang's state-run Korean Central News Agency on Thursday, now Kim was unanimously appointed to lead the first meeting of its kind in more than 3.5 decades. Now, it was also reported that Hwang Byung-seo, director of the General Political Bureau of North Korea's armed forces, gave a speech praising Kim. Now, Hwang said the country has become a great military power and a strong nuclear state under Kim's rule. Back to you.
Thank you, Hyun-bin. Now, the U.S. State Department has released its annual human rights report on North Korea, highlighting the severe violations carried out by the regime. Oh Soo-young tells us more.
North Koreans continue to live in an oppressive environment, under an authority that was neither freely nor fairly elected. That's according to the latest human rights report from the US State Department. In its annual country reports on human rights practices for 2015, North Korea, along with Cuba, Iran and Sudan, was described as an authoritarian state. It said the North controls political activity while banning or limiting opposition, and highlighted various human rights abuses allegedly committed under the North Korean regime, including arbitrary executions and arrests, torture, detention in prison camps, denial of fair trials and forced labour. These offences are ongoing, according to the report. It also mentioned the state's lack of civil liberties, saying North Koreans are subject to rigid control in many aspects of their lives, including heavy monitoring of phone conversations, emails, text messages, and other forms of digital communication. Despite the criticism, the language of this year's report has been watered down in comparison to previous reports on the communist regime. In 2009, the country report described Pyongyang's human rights situation as deplorable, grim, and the worst in the world. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
South Korea and the United States are holding the first general meeting of their high-level committee on nuclear energy in Seoul today, a follow-up to the Seoul-Washington nuclear energy accord reached last year. Prior to the inaugural session of the high-level bilateral commission, the U.S. Deputy Secretary of Energy Elizabeth Sherwood Randall and Seoul's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se held a separate meeting during which Minister Yoon highly evaluated the recently held Nuclear Security Summit in Washington, saying it'll leave a great legacy. Sherwood Randall thanked him for Seoul's partnership and expressed her will to advance the shared nuclear security goals at Thursday's event. Minister Yoon also said the meeting, a great example of the peaceful use of nuclear materials, could send out a significant message to North Korea's reckless nuclear threats. Now, on a much lighter note, Seoul is home to 5 royal palaces, and 2 of them will soon be open for evening viewing. The Cultural Heritage Administration announced on Wednesday that Gyeongbokgung and Changgyeonggung palaces will open in the evenings from April 30th until June 2nd. The entry fee is the same as in the daytime, roughly $3 for Gyeongbokgung and $1 for Changgyeonggung. But people wearing a hanbok, which is the traditional Korean style of dress, will be admitted free of charge. And during the period, the palaces will also offer cultural events, including plays and outdoor concerts. Looks extremely nice and a great way to spend a spring evening here in Seoul. Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for watching, and we'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Next one coming up at 3 p.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.